Welcome back. After she leaves the Bonnie Bagels, Hannah finds herself wandering aimlessly through the drizzling streets of Newtown, her mind buzzing with thoughts of April and Neville. She's walking the cramped aisles of a Tesco Express more to get out of the rain than because they really need anything when her phone goes, "Hey, it's Will. Have you booked anywhere or should I?" Shit, date night. She had completely forgotten, and now the thought of sitting opposite Will for 2 hours in a restaurant, no phones or TV or work emails to distract them or fill the gaps in conversation, she's not sure if she can face it. "I thought maybe Mono," Will is saying. He's clearly on his lunch break. She can hear the hubbub of a sandwich bar in the background. "But do you reckon we get a reservation at such short notice?" "Or there's always Contini's, but we go there so often. I don't know. What do you think?" What does she think? She has no idea. She only knows that the question of which restaurant to go to seems painfully insignificant in the aftermath of Durant's bombshell, and that she can't have that conversation here in the supermarket. She swallows. "Look, would you mind if we didn't go out tonight? I feel like we ought to be saving money." That's something I keep forgetting to say. Why is she so focused on saving money all the time? Back to the story. There's a short silence. "Sure," Will says. His voice is crackling on the other end of the line, but she can still hear a faint puzzlement. "But you know we don't have to go fancy. We could just get fish and chips." "I know," Hannah says. She picks up a bag of organic rice, looks at the price, then swaps it for normal. "But it's not just that. I've got the midwife again tomorrow, and I feel like I should be putting my feet up." "Of course," Will says, and now the puzzlement has been replaced by concern. "Are you not feeling great?" "I'm feeling fine, honestly. I just want a quiet one in front of the TV. Is that okay?" "Of course," Will says again. "Quiet one it is then. Love you." "I love you too," she says, and then Will hangs up and she is left standing there staring at the pasta, Durant's words ringing in her head. April was pregnant. April was pregnant? If it's true, it changes everything. It opens up a whole mess of motives and possibilities that have nothing to do with Neville. There's Ryan, of course, the supposed source of this information. If it's true, excuse me, if April really did tell him that she was pregnant and Ryan really did believe her, Hannah can think of only one plausible explanation. Unlikely though it is on the surface, Ryan must have been sleeping with April. That's what we said. Why else would she tell him first, out of everybody in their group? April didn't even particularly like Ryan, so the prospect of her picking him as a confidant is totally outlandish. But apparently she did choose him. And when she really considered it, Hannah can imagine April sleeping with Ryan, or sleeping with someone at least. Yeah, because, child, they all suspect to be sleeping with her. Because it wasn't just that one morning, when she found Will in a dining hall when he should have been in bed with April, there were other times. Nights when she heard footsteps pattering across the sitting room, followed by hushed whispers and giggles floating across the hallway. Afternoons when she caught a scent of cigarette that Will didn't smoke coming from April's room. Mornings when she found shoes that weren't his by the front door as she headed out to early lectures. And there was always something between April and Ryan. Not friendship, definitely not, but it is all too easy for that prickly antagonism to mask a very different kind of attraction. Hannah remembers the strange electrical charge that crackled between them the night April pranked Ryan. And the weird energy the first night of April's play. And she does not find it hard to believe that Ryan was sleeping with April, not at all. But if that's the case, it's not just Ryan who is implicated. And this is why she is distracted and why her answers to Will's are short and strange. Because if it's true, If it's true, it gives someone else a motive too. Will. It's absurd, of course. She know Will like she knows her own heart. You think, girl. But if this comes out, and if Jaren is digging, it still might. It would destroy Will. She has caught glimpses of them, the articles on the internet making snide references to the Chastain, who was now married to April's college roommate, as though their happiness were somehow bought at the cost of April's death. It always the boyfriend is the cliche, but cliches are cliches for a reason. With this new information, the internet gossip boards would go wild. Her and Will's life would once again become a misery of paparazzi, doorsteppers, and newspaper speculation. How can she keep this from him? It feels impossible. But then asking him whether he knew and concealed something was so monumentous feels equally impossible. It would be like asking him whether he has lied to her all their relationship and admitting to him that she thinks he may have done so. How do you ask someone something like that? And what if he tells her? Her phone pings and she looks down, realizing that she is still frozen in the middle of an aisle, holding it out like a compass. It's a text from Will. Han, I'm sorry. I hadn't remembered about the antenatal appointment. I'm a horrible husband. Please don't stress. I'm sure it's all fine. Our baby is fine. I love you. A wave of guilt washes over her as she realizes what she has just done. She has used this appointment, used their baby, as an alibi for her own stress over Jaren. She is just trying to think what to reply when her phone buzzes again. Why don't you take a day off so you're properly rested? Really put up your feet. You're a lovely husband and a good idea. Hannah texts back, love you. She put the phones away, picks up the rice, and goes across the queue for the checkout. But the sinking feeling in her stomach tells her that this isn't over. She has to find out if Jaren is telling the truth, if April really was pregnant, or she will spend the next 10 years stressing about it. And only one person knows for sure. She will take the day off tomorrow, as Will suggested, but not to put her feet up. She will go to her appointment, and then she will go and see Ryan. And she will ask him about the rumors. But that means she has to tell Will. It's late, or what passes for late for Hannah these days. They are in bed. Will is scrolling through his phone, and Hannah is reading a dog-eared copy of Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy. She picked it up because she wanted a familiar comfort read, but she knows the clock is ticking and that she can't put this conversation off any longer. She owes it to Will. Do she really? She put the book down on the bedside table. Will. He barely looks up. She can see he's on Twitter. He doesn't tweet under his own name. They've both learned the hard way that's not a good idea. But he has an anonymous account under the name Two Wheels Good, where he retweets indignant blogs about poorly designed road junctions and articles about vintage motorbikes. Will, did you? She swallows, stops, try again. Did you ever hear a rumor that April was pregnant? What? Will sits up straight, turns to look at her. The lazy post-supper two-beer contentment is suddenly gone from his face, and his expression is worried and watchful. I'm sorry, what did you say? I heard a rumor, something on the internet. Oh God, there it is. The actual lie she was trying not to tell. But now she said it. She can't take it back. Someone said that April was pregnant when she died. What absolute bullshit, Will says, and his face twists into something so shocked and unhappy that she wishes she had never brought it up. even though there's a kind of comfort in seeing his surprise. Of course she wasn't. Where do people get this poisonous shit? More to the point, why are you reading it? I don't know. I wasn't twirling conspiracy forums. It just cropped up, she says. And that's true in a way. Gerard did just crop up out of the blue like an unwanted Google alert. So you think it's crap? Of course it's crap. Are they saying it came up at an autopsy, but the coroner just, decided not to mention it to anyone? No, Hannah says, but Will's words have cleared her head, blowing away some of the fog of stress and worry, because of course he's completely right. If it were true, then of course it would have come up at the autopsy. No, it wasn't anything to do with the autopsy. It was just this rumor, something about she took a pregnancy test right before she died. But you're right, that's so unlikely. She should have talked to Will about this earlier. She is feeling better already. She rolls over and puts her arm over his middle. I mean, she would have told one of us for sure, wouldn't she? Of course she would. And anyway, it makes no sense. The idea that April would ever have touched John Neville with a barge pole, let alone had sex with him. God, people are fucking imbeciles. They'll believe anything, however unlikely, if it makes a good conspiracy theory. Hannah says nothing. She only squeezes him tighter and he hugs her back. And now he is the one who is tense, but not with stress and fear. As her arms tighten around him, she can feel his anger, feel the sinews in his arms and shoulders as he strives to simmer down so as not to upset her. In a strange way, though, his fury is comforting because he has missed the point completely. He had failed to understand what Gerard was saying, the narrative of guilt and revenge that the pregnancy theory implies, and that somehow is more reassuring than almost anything else. What he mad for? His reaction to that is crazy. Well, it's still a bit high. The midwife unstraps the band from Hannah's arm, and Hannah feels a sharp pang of disbelief. She had been so sure it would be fine. She had gotten the bus, arrived 10 minutes early, sat there taking deep breaths in the waiting room, trying to calm herself down. And now this? It feels like her body has betrayed her. How high? She said in an odd, strangled voice. It's hovering around 140/90 mark, which isn't ideal. Have you noticed any swelling in your ankles? Any unusual headaches? No and no. Hannah feels her cheek flush with annoyance. But hang on, 140/90, that's not that high, is it? I thought anything below that was normal. Clinically, yes, but pregnant women are a bit different. The midwife voice is gentle, but there's a slightly patronizing note that makes Hannah hackles rise. I'm not stupid, she wants to say. I know I'm pregnant. But she knows that she won't be the first person to have had this back and forth with the midwife, trying to argue away figures that are right there on a dial in front of her, and that her anger isn't really at the woman sitting opposite. It's at herself. There's no protein in your urine, the midwife continues, so I'm not too concerned. But any rise needs keeping an eye on, that's all. What was it when you booked in? She flicks back through Hannah's note, but Hannah already knows what the answer is. She can't remember the exact figures, but it was normal to low. 115/80, yes, that is a bit of a jump. Well, let's not worry about it now, but we'll have you back next week for a quick check. And in the meantime, if you get any sudden swelling, any headaches or flashing lights, then call the maternity unit urgently. She's running her fingers down her appointment diary. I have a slot at 10 a.m. next Thursday if that suits. And try not to worry. It may be just one of those things. But Hannah's not listening. She's too focused on what the midwife said before that. We'll have you back next week. I can't, she says without thinking. I can't take another morning off. even though that's not true. Maternity checks are a legal right, and besides, Kathy is far too nice to make a fuss about something like that. She would be the first to tell Hannah to take the whole day off, no leave required, if she knew about this. If you need a note for your employer, I'll be happy to give you one, the midwife is saying. They're legally required to let you, but Hannah is shaking her head. She doesn't need a note. She just doesn't want to be in this situation. Girl, you pregnant. It's only when she's out in the street, her notes under her arm, the wind cooling her hot cheeks, that she realizes how true that is. It's not just her blood pressure. She doesn't want any of it. She doesn't want to be here now, still dealing with the fallout from a tragedy that dropped into her life like a bomb more than 10 years ago. Why me? She wants to wail, but that is too selfish even to say in her own head, let alone out loud. Because if it comes to that, why any of them? Why Will, questioned for hours by police, hounded on social media, forever trying to shake off the reputation of being the boyfriend of a murdered girl? Why Ryan, struck down by a stroke in his 20s, a bolt of bad luck so unfair it seems impossible that it could happen to anyone on top of what they're suffering in college? Why Emily? Why Hugh? Why Pelham? And most of all, why April? Why beautiful, glittering April? Someone with the whole life stretched out at her feet. Why did she deserve to have that taken away from her? But the answer was, of course, that she did not, that she never had. It was just one of those things. The train to York takes 2.5 hours, and Hannah has forgotten her book, so she buys one at the station, a Louis candlelish that Robin recommended as particularly gripping, in the hopes that it will keep her from obsessing over the coming conversation with Ryan. It works for a while, but as the train draws closer to York, she finds her nerves are taking over and that she's turning a page without properly concentrating. Is she really going to do this? She hasn't seen Ryan for more than 5 years. Since his stroke, she hasn't spoken to him either. First because he couldn't talk on the phone, and then, well, after that, there was no excuses really, apart from her own selfishness. Now she wonders if she's mad to do this, turn up out of the blue unannounced. Maybe this is what he meant. That's why he sent Jarrett, so she can come to him. What if he sends her away? He's hardly going to be out, she supposed. She could have called. She should have made an appointment, cleared it with Bella, checked he was up to seeing people. But it's too late for that. She's on the train. She quite literally can't turn back. No, she's going to have to see this through, even if that's only as far as Ryan telling her to her face that she's 4 years too late, rather than by text. When she gets to York, she catches a taxi, carefully reading out Ryan's address from the contact list on her phone. And then at last, she's there, standing outside a neat suburban house with a garage to one side and a little square of lawn in front. Her heart is beating in her throat, and she can't help thinking of her blood pressure, of what it's doing to the baby. But she forces herself to cross the drive, step up to the blonde wood front door, and ring the bell. She's not sure what she's expecting. Bella, most likely, or perhaps a carrier of some kind in a uniform. Whatever she thought, it's not the person who opens the door, awkwardly wheeling his chair out of the way as he pulls it back. Ryan. His name comes out without her even meaning it, a jolt of surprise. For a minute, his face is blank and puzzled as he stares up at her, a frown between his brows. He looked older than she remembered, older than the years of water under the bridge would warrant. He looks far more gaunt and drawn than Will, who is his exact contemporary. But it's not just that. There is something slack about the muscles on his face, a kind of lopsided stiffness beneath the dense, dark beard he has grown since college days. Then his expression clears and he smiles, one side of his mouth lifted more than the other. Well, fuck me, if it ain't Hannah's Bloody Joan. What in God's name are you doing here, woman? And it's still him. It's still the same Ryan. His voice is slightly slurred. His smile is slightly tilted, but it's the same old Ryan. Hannah just stands there smiling nervously. She finds she doesn't know what to say. Ryan is grinning up at her, enjoying her awkwardness just a little. He's still got that knack for discomforting people, but he's pleased to see her, and that wasn't a given. What took you so long is all he says. What took her so long is all he says. Oh, junk. So we're getting a little bit closer. So do y'all think Ryan is the baby daddy? Was April really pregnant? I already said I think Will might have got into a jealous rage. But we shall see, right? Before. Where is she? Emily was tapping her foot, irritable. I've got to get back. I have an absolute mountain of revisions to get done before tomorrow. Hannah looked at her phone. It was 10 p.m. The gates would have shut long ago. They were hanging around in the foyer waiting for April to finish up and come out, but they've been there for almost half an hour and she still hasn't shown. Should we go backstage? Hugh asked, looking rather nervously at Will. Will shrugged. He had said very little since the altercation with April, and now he was just standing stone-faced in the foyer, the streaks of makeup still smeared across his t-shirt. Hannah found herself wondering what he was thinking. Well, I'm going, Emily said, making up her mind. Come in hand? Hannah was torn. Part of her desperately needed to get back and revise her last exam. The other part felt like a disloyal friend for leaving April on her opening night. But if Emily was leaving, then Ryan would probably join her, and maybe Hugh too. I don't know. She glanced at Hugh, then Ryan. What do you think? Are you staying? I'm leaving, Ryan said. I'm bloody starving. I came straight from rugby practice, and all I've had is a couple of beers. I'm not hanging around here when I could be getting myself a large kebab outside. I have to get back, Hugh said. His voice was slightly reluctant, and now he looked at Will. I've got an exam tomorrow. You'll be okay, Will. Will said nothing, but he gave a tight nod. Fine, Emily said, as if that settled matters. In that case, we're off-ski. See you back at the ranch, Will. Okay, so that means Emily left, Ryan left, Hugh left. So Will and Hannah is still waiting for April to come out, right? Okay, just want to make sure I get my character. Outside the theater, Hannah found herself looking up and down the street, half expecting to see Neville lurking in the shadows, but to her relief, he was gone. Are you okay? Hugh said rather curiously. Hannah let out a nervous laugh. Yeah, sorry, I just thought I saw what? Hannah bit her lip. She hadn't said much about Neville's behavior to the others, not since that day when he talked, when he talked about little girls in a porter's lounge. Since then, there had been nothing she could put her finger on, and she had begun to feel almost ashamed of her antipathy to him. Well, nothing right up until the night he had come up to her room with the partial. But that was weeks ago, and besides, it was so bound up with what had happened afterward, her kiss with Will, that she had found it almost impossible to talk about. The whole night was so bound up with her feelings for Will and her shame over her own actions that she was afraid that if she unpicked one edge of a tangle, the whole mass would come unraveled and risk betraying Will in the process. I thought I saw one of the college porters, she said at last. Hugh looked puzzled, but Emily, a couple of paces ahead, swung around. Oh my God, not that weird Neville guy, the little girl's creep? Yes, Hannah said. She felt a deep unhappiness take hold of her. Somewhere inside. Oh, wait a minute. I'm sorry. Take hold of her somewhere inside. I thought I saw him near the front in the second half, but I don't know if it was him. It was him, Ryan said somewhat unexpectedly. I clocked him in the queue for the gents. Is he still bothering you? I don't know, Hannah said. She felt like someone was pulling slowly at a bandage over a cut, exposing something very raw and tender underneath. He's always there, always hanging around. He came up to our room one time. I don't want to talk about it, she finished hurriedly, seeing that Emily was about to open her mouth to interject something horrified and furious. I told him to go away, and he did, but I find him really creepy, and I don't know what to do about it. You have to go to the college authorities, Emily burst out. This isn't okay. Okay, so Emily, Hugh, and Hannah are together walking away. Okay, so that leaves Will still there, and Ryan, I think, said he walked away. Okay. Sorry, y'all. Got to get it together. And say what? He came to see my friends play. He made me feel a bit weird. She's got a point. Ryan threw over his shoulder. If it ain't exactly a smoking gun, is it? Emily was opening her mouth to reply when Ryan stopped, pointing up a side street at a kebab van parked at the intersection, a line of people snaking across the pavement. Hey up, I spy supper. Hold up, I'll be back in a tick. Have you seen that, Q? Emily said explosively. And did you not hear me about the revision? So don't wait, Ryan called. He was already halfway down the side road toward the van. Keep the bed warm. You should be so lucky, Emily yelled back, then let out an exasperated sign. Knob. Well, I'm off. He'll be half an hour in that queue if he's lucky, and then he'll want to eat it. Hannah. I'll come with you, Hannah said. She looked at her watch, trying to figure out the likelihood that Neville would be back at Pelham by now. Did he live in college? It dawned on her she had no idea about the lives of the porters outside their jobs. Hugh. Well, I'm pretty hungry. I might join Ryan, Hugh said as if seeking their approval. He looked a little uncertain. Hannah had the impression that he and Ryan had never really been the best of friends, that they were linked by default through Will, rather than via any real connection of their own. But maybe Hugh was trying to change that. Knock yourself out, Emily said. Later, Coates. She bellowed down the alleyway after Ryan and then turned on her heel and left. Okay, so that leaves Emily by herself, I think. Or is it Emily and Hannah together? And that leaves Hugh and Ryan together and Will still at the play. It was almost 11 when they got back to Pelham, and Hannah found her footsteps slowing as they approached the front gate, wondering if Neville would be there. Come on, Emily said impatiently as they crossed Pelham Street. You go on, Hannah. I just want to check if the closed gate is still open. It won't be, Emily said. She stopped, looking harder at Hannah. Is this about Neville? Do you want me to see if he's in the lodge? No, it's fine, Hannah said rather wearily. You'll have to knock at this time of night, and then how will you explain going back for me? I'll just brave it out. I mean, so what if he's there? He can't eat me. Okay, well, first of all, let me reiterate once again how extremely fucked up it is that you're rearranging your life to avoid this man without going to the college authorities. And second, you know you can climb the wall behind clothes. What? Hannah wrapped her arms around herself, trying not to shiver in the draft coming down Pelham Street. It was June, but the night air was cool in spite of her cardigan. No, I had no idea. Where? All the walls are 8 foot and covered in spikes. There's a bit where you can get a foothold. Ryan showed me. He used it one time when he forgot in his bod car and couldn't be arsed to go around the front. Want me to show you? Yes, Hannah said, more eagerly than she had meant, and then felt ridiculous. I mean, not that it's that much of an issue. I don't mind going past the lodge. It just might be, useful one day. Emily shot her a look like she was in absolute no doubt of how much Hannah did not want to face Neville, but said nothing, only turned up Pelham Street. They paused the closed gate without stopping and then rounded the corner and ducked into a small lane that led between houses to the meadow, a large field that backed into Pelham and was used for cricket in the summer and lazing out on sunny days. Here, the high walls that bounded the college on four sides was covered in ivy and creepers, and Emily walked slowly through the scrubby trees, picking her way by the light of her mobile, before stopping at last at a place where the ivy grew particularly thick. There, she said, pointing. Can you see? The ivory makes a kind of mattress over the spikes, and you can get a foot onto that sticking out stone halfway up and pull yourself up. That one? Hannah says, disbelievingly pointing to a stone at least 4 feet off the ground. Maybe Ryan can, but I definitely can't. It's much too high. Yeah, that one. Ryan had to give me a leg up, but maybe we can find a log, Emily said. She was searching around in the undergrowth using her phone as a torch, but then seemed to realize that was a non-starter. There was nothing solid enough around. Okay, scratch that. New plan. I'll boost you, and you pull me up if you can. If you can't, I'll go around by the main entrance. Hannah nodded. Emily made a platform of her hand and braced herself, and Hannah put her weight into the living, yielding flesh of Emily's linked finger and felt Emily shove with all her might. Hannah's hand caught on the top of the wall, but for a second she wasn't sure if she would make it. The stone was old and crumbling, and the creepers began to peel away under her fingers. But then her kicking left foot caught on something, the sticking out stone Emily had pointed out, and it gave her just enough purchase to haul herself up, panting and scrambling, swinging her right leg over the top of the wall. Ow! The yelp of pain came out louder than she had meant. Are you okay? Emily whispered, shouted from below. I'm fine, Hannah said, though it wasn't completely true. She had grated her thigh over one of the unprotected spikes on top of the wall, and now as she pulled herself up to sit astride, she could feel a spreading wetness that she was pretty sure was blood. She poked herself gently, feeling a broken thread of denim and an ominous dampness. Think I just stabbed myself on a spike. I'll live, but R.I.P. to my jeans. She gave a shaky laugh. Okay, your turn. I'll pull you, you jump. She braced herself, holding her hand down for Emily. Now nothing but a dark shape and a glimmering of phone screen in the darkness below. You know what? Emily's voice said with a new reluctance. On second thought, I think I'm going to take a pass on that. Can you get down? Hannah looked at the drop on the other side. It was not quite as high and therefore was a convenient buttress that she could lower herself onto to break her fall. I think I'll be all right. Are you sure? Yeah, I think this shortcut is probably fine if you're a 6-foot rugby player, but not so great if you're a fragile 5-foot-nothing blue stocking like me. Not to mention, these sandals are my favorite. If you're sure you're okay getting down, I'll go around by the lodge. I'm sure, Hannah said. Good luck with the revision. Cheers. See you at breakfast then. Hannah sat listening as Emily's footsteps crunched off into the darkness of the wood, and then she swung her other leg over the wall and sat, contemplating the drop. It would be easiest, she thought, if she just rolled around to lie on her stomach. Then she could hold onto the wall with her hands and lower herself feet first onto the buttress. Painfully, she began to roll over, feeling a thick twisting rope of ivy digging into her hip, and the protest from her inner thigh as the material of her jeans shafted against the cut. At last, though, she was lying on her front, her legs dangling roughly over where she thought the buttress should be, and she began to lower herself cautiously down. She was almost a full stretch, her arms quivering with the unaccustomed strain, when she felt someone, grab her ankle. Hannah kicked out instinctively. The hand let go, and she heard a male voice cry out in pain and someone staggering back. And then her arms gave way, and she slid to the ground in a slither of grazed ribs and jarred ankles. She landed heavily, but picked herself up almost at once and began to run around the side of clothes, in spite of the pain in her knee and thigh. She wasn't sure who had grabbed her, but she knew that she didn't want to wait and find out. What she had done was strictly against the rules, and if a tutor or a member of college staff found out, she would be in trouble. "Oi!" she heard from behind her as whoever she had kicked recovered himself. It was a man's voice, but oddly high, almost falsetto. "Oi! You! Stop!" Hannah pushed herself to run faster and rounded the corner into the passage that led into the new quad. And then whoever it was behind her tackled her. She felt a whiplash jolt as the pursuer grabbed at her collar, jerking her back, and then her feet were hooked out from under her. She went down in a rush, elbows and knees onto the gravel path, all the wind knocked out of her. She felt a man's body laying heavily on top of her, covering her almost completely, his hips pressed into her backside, his chest crushing her against the ground. There was an arm across the back of her neck. She couldn't breathe, but she could smell something horribly familiar, that sickening, musty smell of body odor and damp. Panic engulfed her. "Get off of me," she choked, but the words came out so smothered they were barely audible. He was grinding her face into the path. She could hardly get any air in. Her hands were wet with sweat, her whole body shaking with fear, her lungs screaming for oxygen. She felt his hips grinding her into the ground, and she felt something else too, something hard and thick and urgent pressing against her. "Get!" she tried again, but the words dissolved into a sobbing gasp. Stars were beginning to explode against the inside of her skull, obscuring her vision. "Get!" And then another voice, a deeper one, unfamiliar. "What on earth is going on here, Mr. Neville?" "I found this person climbing over the wall," Neville panted. He got to his knees, putting his weight painfully on Hannah's arm as he did. She lay there, gasping and trembling as he lumbered slowly to his feet, feeling a crushing sensation in her chest slowly lifting. "Well, still, but I'm not sure." Hannah didn't wait around to hear anymore. She had only one instinct: to get away. As the last of Neville's weight came off her, she twisted like an animal in a trap and wrenched herself out from underneath him. And then she was gone, stumbling around the corner of the quad into staircase 7, up the stairs 3 at a time till at last she was in the sanctuary of the set, the good solid wooden door of her bedroom, hard against her back. And then she sank down to the floor and burst into tears. That's the end of that chapter. Did Emily set her up? I suspect everybody at this point, because why would Emily tell her about it, right? But didn't tell her fully about it. Like, she left out some details, but Hannah could have said no, right? I'm not putting it all on Emily, but still. And what the hell? How did Neville get there? Like, is he really stalking her like that? Or maybe he saw them coming and decided to, but he's so nasty. He knew it was her. Do y'all think he knew it was her? He knew it was her. So he took his opportunity to be a little nasty gas any old way. After. So, Ryan says with another of his lopsided smiles, They are sitting in his living room, nursing cups of tea that Hannah has made under his direction. What brings you here then? He puts on a plummy accent quite at odds with his normal ones and undertones. Rumors of my death have been much exaggerated. Hannah laughs at that. She can't help it. He's still Ryan, still stupid, piss-taking, sarcastic Ryan, even after everything he's been through. I can't believe how well you look, she says, and he grins. Hey, well, you should have seen me a few years ago. Adult nappy, surgical hoist, the whole shebang. Pretty sexy it were. And how's Bella? She's grand. She's been my lifeline here. She's been my lifeline, her and the girls. The girls? Of course. She had almost forgotten that Ryan has 2 little girls now. How old are they? Mabel's almost 4 and Lulu's 2. Mabel was born right after I had the stroke. Bella always said I couldn't stand to share the... He paused, frowned, as though searching for a word, and then his brow clears and he finished. Limelight. Had to make it all about me. Will and I are expecting, Hannah said. She pats her stomach, feeling like a performative fool, but she still can't quite get over it. The fact that it's their baby, a melting pot of her and Will growing inside of her. Did you know? Hey, Hugh said, congratulations. They'll pull your life apart and stick it back together with vomit and shit. But it'll still be more beautiful than you ever thought possible. Hannah smiles at that, and Ryan smiles back, a little sadly this time. Maybe he's thinking of how their own lives were ripped into little pieces after April's death. I didn't know you kept up with Hugh, she said, as much to change the subject as anything. Yeah, it's funny. I wouldn't have put us down for pen pals neither, and I never heard from him much after college, but he got in touch after my stroke. He's been a good mate. Better than you and Will. The words hang in the air between them. Ryan doesn't say it. He wouldn't reproach them like that, and Hannah knows it, but it doesn't stop it from being true. Hannah swallows. She needs to bring it up. She can't stand the way they're both dancing around her betrayal, not mention the years of silence, the lack of visits. I'm sorry, she says. Ryan, I'm really sorry we never came to see you. And I know Will feels bad about it too. It was just, I don't know. I was running from everything about Pelham for so long. It's why I ended up in Edinburgh. And I don't want you to think Will and Hugh and I formed this cozy little clique up there. It wasn't like that. Will came to find me. I don't think I would ever have sought him out off my own bat. It was all just too painful. And Hugh, she stops. She has never thought about why Hugh ended up in Scotland. Auntie, I guess Hugh followed Will. She said finally. Or I think he has some kind of surgical residency there at one point. Excuse me. Maybe he just liked it there. But I never meant to drop you the way I did, or am. It was more like, she stops again, groping for words. More like I was just trying to survive. It's okay, Ryan says softly. He puts out his good hand, touches hers very gently. We've all been a bit rubbish. How often did I call you before my stroke? Once, maybe twice. And that was only to tell you about the wedding. Way to make it all about me, huh? And yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Things have been a bit shit here. But it's not like you were having a great time either. It's not just you. I've barely spoken to M since Uni. We let each other down. We all did. Hannah nods. There are tears prickling at the back of her eyes. She wants to tell him how much she missed him, how often she thought of him and M, but she can't find the words. Do you think it was because of April? She manages at last. The stroke, I've always wondered. What the? Ryan pauses as if he's searching for a word. The stress? You mean? Hannah nods. Ryan shrugs lopsidedly, one shoulder rising more than the other. Maybe that contributed, but only in terms of my own behavior. Bottom line, I was drinking too much, smoking too much, eating shit. My blood pressure was bad. All of that was my choice. Well, not my blood pressure. He laughs. That's genetic. But I should have got it treated instead of burying me head. Hannah bites her lip. She doesn't want to think about that. So what brings you down here? Ryan asks again, this time with the air of changing the conversation. Hannah takes a gulp of tea, remembering how much she hates PG tips, and then a deep breath. Do you know a reporter called Jarrett Williams? His face is a little surprised. Yes, of course I do. He's a good bloke. We worked together at the Herald. How come? He came to see me at the bookshop. You probably heard John Neville died? I did. Hard to miss, to be honest. It was all over the news. Hannah nods. Well, Jarrett came to see me afterward. He'd been working on a podcast with Neville's cooperation, or at least that's what he said, and he wanted my side of things. Right, Ryan says. He's frowning slightly, but not like he's contradicting her, just like he's trying to see where this is going. We had coffee and he thinks Neville is... She swallows a gulp of scalding tea, trying to force herself to say the words. He thinks Neville might have been innocent. To her surprise, Ryan doesn't recoil. He only nods slowly. Hey, well, he's not the only one. With a defense like that, there's bound to be questions. What do you mean? Hannah asks, and now it's her turn to frown. Ryan gives a sign and lifts himself slightly in his chair as if the pressure of the seat hurts him. He can only really use one hand, Hannah noticed. He picks up his cup with that hand, operates his chair. Now he lifts himself sideways on one arm and then slumps back down with a squeak from the wheelchair's brakes. Look, you're not part of that circuit. You wouldn't have known. But journalists, we talk to lawyers a fair bit, and, well, there's fairly widespread of fairly. He stopped, his expression frustrated. A what? Oh shit, what do you call it? His face is twisted in annoyance. When everyone agrees on the same thing, an acceptance that the world I was looking for. Sorry, since the stroke, it's like things have fallen through the gap. Words, name, faces. It's getting better, but it comes back when I'm tired. What was I saying? A widespread acceptance. Hannah Pro and Ryan nods. That's it. An acceptance that his defense didn't do a very good job. I mean, basically, what did it boil down to? You saw him coming down the stairs? That was it. Not much to lock a block up for life. But the stalking, Hannah says. She feels suddenly nettled, as if Ryan is accusing her of something. All the stuff that came out at the trial about the other girls he spied on, it was part of a pattern of escalated behavior. Is that what the judge said? Isn't that what the judge said? He did, and there's an argument that half of that shouldn't have been at. He stops, pounding his hand down on his knee in frustration. Fuck it. It's gone as well. Admissible? Hannah ventures, unsure of the etiquette of filling in for him, but Ryan nods in relief. Yes, thank you. Admissible. It's prejudiced the jury, and none of it spoke to him being a murderer, did it? Ryan, he attacked me. Or he did his job and stopped someone he's seen breaking into college, Ryan says, and then holds up his hand as he sees her begin to protest. Look, I'm not saying you were in the wrong. You said what happened and the rest was down to the jury. It wasn't up to you to make Neville's defense. I'm just telling you why some people have a problem with the verdict. But it's too late now. She nods, thinking, it is too late now, that's true. She can't bring Neville back, but at the same time, she knows that she can't let this rest either. Not if there is even a slightest chance that Durant is right. There was something else, she says very slowly, and then stops. She's not sure how to say it. It's not the same as asking Will, the man she loves, the man she's married to, April's boyfriend, but it's still an accusation of a sort. Spit it out, pet, Ryan says, but kindly, as if he knows this is hard for her. Hannah takes a deep breath. Jarrett said, he claims that April told you. She stops again, swallowing, feeling the blood pounding in her throat. This can't be good for the baby. He said that April was pregnant. She finishes in a rush. Whatever Ryan was expecting, it wasn't that. His face goes white beneath the dark beard, but he's not surprised, or not as surprised as he should be if the accusation were news to him. There's a long silence. Ryan raises his cup to his lips, takes a slow, painful swallow, and then sets it down and gives a shaky nod. Is it true? Hannah asks. Ryan shrugs, one shoulder lifting higher than the other. Who knows? You know what April was like. You think it was a prank? I still have no idea. He said we, y'all. His face twitches and he looks away from her, not meeting her eyes. We were sleeping together. You probably knew that already. Yeah, we did. Hannah exhales. She's not sure what to say. It's weird to have her suspicions confirmed. I didn't know for sure, she said at last. Not then, but looking back, I'm not completely surprised. How long? Most of that year, Ryan says, so he was the one in the room. His mouth twisted unhappily. The first time was before I knew she and Will were an item. I wouldn't have done it if I'd known they were official. At least that's what I tried to tell myself. When I found out, I felt like a complete prick. But I already done it once, so he shrugged again. What about Emily? Ooh, Emily was my suspect. Hannah says her throat is tight, thinking of M and this serial betrayal. April was never M's friend in the way that she was Hannah's friend. There was always something a bit antagonistic there, a little mistrustful. But they were friends. In the meaning of the act, they hung out together. Yeah, I felt like a prick to her too. More than a prick, but that was the problem. Once I'd done it the first time, April had me over a barrel. What? You mean she was forcing you into it? Hannah doesn't try to keep the skepticism out of her voice. This is all a little bit too convenient for Ryan. And April didn't need to emotionally blackmail people into sleeping with her. She would have candidates queuing up around the block if that was what she wanted. Ryan's face is unhappy. I know what you're thinking. And yeah, of course, the truth is that I could have stopped it anytime I wanted. I had a choice. Every time she called or texted or sidled up to me at chucking out time saying Will's busy, I could have turned her down. I know that. I'm just saying, it's fucking hard to say no to someone who's got your girlfriend on speed dial. I knew I was being a shit, but yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I wanted to shag April, so I did. I knew she didn't want to get found out any more than I did. I guess. His mouth twisted, and Hannah can see the self-hatred still in his eyes. But there's another kind of loathing there, and now she understands. Or she thinks she does. Ryan's antipathy to April was real, but it wasn't because April was rich and beautiful and had life handed to her on a plate. At least it wasn't just that. Ryan had hated her because of what they were doing together. That's why. Okay. What about the pregnancy then? She asked, Her throat is dry and she takes another sip of tea. It's cooler now. When did that happen? I'm not sure. I didn't see her those last couple of weeks. She was so busy with rehearsals and everything, but she texted me the morning after the first night of the play. The text just said, "Look in your pigeonhole." So I looked, and there was a jiffy bag containing a pregnancy test. 2 lines. I text back saying, "Is this a joke?" And she replied, "Positively not." Shit. Hannah doesn't know what to think. It's the kind of prank April would pull, but at the same time, did it look real? How the fuck should I know? Ryan said bluntly. I'd never seen a pregnancy test. She could have drawn those lines on it with a. He screws up his face searching for the missing word, and Hannah bites her lip trying to stop herself jumping in. With a barrel, for all I knew. But yeah, if I'm being honest, it looked real. Enough to send me into a tailspin anyway. I spent the rest of the week panicking and alternately cramping myself and telling myself that it probably wasn't mine. And then he breaks off. Hannah sees there are tears in his eyes. And then April was killed. Why didn't you say anything? She said gently. Ryan gives a short barking laugh and runs his good hand through his hair, making it stick up like a porcupine's spine. Why do you think? Because she'd been strangled, and I knew that if I told them about the test, it would be me and Will in the firing line. And because I didn't know. I had no idea if it was just one of her stupid fucking pranks. I thought if it was true, then they would find out at the medical thing, autopsy. That's it. And it would all come out without me having to admit I knew anything. I waited and waited for days and then weeks, but the call never came. And they never arrested Neville, and I thought. He stops. His eyes are filled with tears, and there's a muscle ticking in his cheek. Hannah could see he is tired, exhausted in fact. She feels a stab of remorse. I was so fucking thankful, you know, he says. His voice breaks on the last word. It was just April's sick joke. But later on, I started to wonder. I'm sorry, Hannah said. She stands up. I'm really sorry, Ryan. I shouldn't have dug all this up. Listen, I should go. I've kept you talking too long, and I have to get back to Edinburgh. She stopped stumbling over the last word. Before Will gets home is what she had been going to say. But she doesn't want to admit to Ryan that she's here without Will's knowledge. Before rush hour, she finished uncomfortably. Ryan nods. Fair enough. Look, take care of yourself, okay? And if you want any baby clothes. He waves a hand at the living room, which is strewn with the plastic bins left by two small girls. As you can see, we're due a clear out, and I don't think Bella's up for any more kids. Thanks, Hannah says. She smiles. It's a relief doing so after the seriousness of the last half hour. I'd like that. You take care of yourself too. I will, he says. He wheels her to the door and unlatches it. Then, on the doorstep, he beckons her to lean over, and somewhat to Hannah's surprise, he plants a kiss on her cheek. His lips are soft and his beard even softer. Much gentler than Will's occasional 3-day stubble when he forgets to shave. You didn't deserve this, Hannah Jones. Remember that, all right? I'll remember, Hannah says. She swallows, finding her eyes suddenly hot with unshed tears. Thank you, Ryan. She doesn't know what she wants to say. You're a good man. You're a better friend than either Will and I had any right to expect. You didn't deserve this. But she doesn't find the words. Instead, she just kisses him back, his beard soft beneath her lips, and then she picks up her bag and heads off towards the train. And that's the end of that chapter. So it has been found out that he was sleeping with April. It seemed like April was sleeping with all of them, right? We have yet to see if she was sleeping with Hugh and what's the teacher across the hall name? I can't remember his name off the top of my head. Or Neville or John. So Emily was on my suspect list because she might have found out about April and Ryan. And then Will could be the suspect because he found out about April and Ryan. But at least we know now that Ryan still could have been the guy in the room. But she said she smelled some smoke. So, of course, it just sounded like it was multiple people. But was April pregnant or was it a prank? Because they said it wasn't mentioned in the autopsy, right? It would have been mentioned in the autopsy, right? And during trial, that type of information would have been there, right? Was Neville set up? I said that a long time ago. He might have been set up. But hey, we shall find out in the next chapters. So until then, bye-bye for now.